Two of America's founding giants didn't just disagree, they fought over the very meaning of money. Alexander Hamilton wanted a powerful national bank, a web of federal debt, and a government strong enough to control the economy. Thomas Jefferson saw something far more dangerous, a system that could concentrate wealth and crush liberty. Their clash wasn't just political, it set the rules for who controls American wealth. And more than 200 years later, we're still living in the world they built. Alexander Hamilton believed a strong central government and national financial system were essential to America's survival. Coming out of the Revolutionary War, the United States was deeply in debt and politically fragile, with states operating almost like separate countries and the federal government lacking real authority under the Articles of Confederation. Hamilton, who had seen firsthand the chaos of unpaid soldiers and unstable currency, concluded that economic strength was the foundation of political stability. As the first Secretary of the Treasury, he proposed that the federal government assume state debts, consolidate them into a national obligation, and fund them through reliable taxation. His logic was strategic. By tying wealthy creditors to the success of the federal government, he would create a powerful class invested in its survival. Hamilton also pushed for a national bank to manage government funds, issue a stable currency, and facilitate commerce across state lines. To him, finance was not just about money, it was about power, credibility, and national unity. Without a centralized system, he believed the United States would fracture or fall prey to stronger nations. His vision laid the groundwork for a modern financial state, but it also sparked intense opposition from those who feared concentrated power. Thomas Jefferson feared that centralized banking and federal debt would create corruption and threaten individual liberty. Unlike Hamilton, Jefferson envisioned America as a republic of independent farmers, where political power remained close to the people and economic life was rooted in land rather than finance. He viewed banks, stock markets, and public debt with deep suspicion, associating them with the kind of elite control and inequality he believed plagued Europe. When Hamilton proposed a national bank, Jefferson argued that the Constitution did not explicitly grant the federal government the authority to create one, making it both illegal and dangerous. More fundamentally, he worried that a permanent national debt would bind future generations to financial obligations they did not choose, while empowering speculators and wealthy investors at the expense of ordinary citizens. To Jefferson, concentrated financial systems risked turning the republic into an oligarchy, where a small group could manipulate money and policy for their own benefit. His opposition wasn't just economic, it was philosophical, rooted in a belief that liberty depended on limiting centralized power and preserving local control. This clash between fear of financial concentration and the desire for national strength became one of the defining tensions in early American politics. The fight over the national bank became the first major constitutional battle over federal power. When Hamilton proposed the creation of the first Bank of the United States in 1791, the debate quickly escalated beyond economics into a fundamental question. What powers did the federal government actually have? Hamilton argued for a broad interpretation of the Constitution, introducing the idea of implied powers, meaning that if a goal was legitimate, like managing the nation's finances, then Congress could use reasonable means to achieve it, even if not explicitly listed. Jefferson and James Madison took the opposite view, insisting on a strict interpretation that limited federal authority only to what was clearly written. They warned that accepting implied powers would open the door to unlimited government expansion. President George Washington found himself caught between these visions, ultimately siding with Hamilton and signing the bank into law. This decision set a lasting precedent. The Constitution would be flexible, capable of adapting to new challenges, but also open to ongoing interpretation battles. The national bank became more than a financial institution, it became a symbol of federal authority, and the debate around it shaped how Americans would argue about power, law, and governance for generations. Hamilton's financial system helped stabilize the U.S. economy, but deepened political divisions and gave rise to the first-party system. His policies, federal assumption of state debts, the establishment of a national bank, and the creation of new taxes successfully restored American credit both at home and abroad. Investors gained confidence, trade expanded, and the federal government became financially credible in a way it had never been before. But these same policies also created winners and losers, fueling resentment among those who felt excluded from the new financial order. Farmers, particularly in the South and West, saw taxes like the whiskey tax as burdensome and unfair, leading to uprisings like the Whiskey Rebellion. Meanwhile, political factions began to organize around these economic disagreements. Hamilton's supporters became known as Federalists, advocating for strong central government and commercial growth, while Jefferson and Madison's followers formed the Democratic Republicans, emphasizing states' rights and agrarian values. What started as a policy dispute turned into a full political divide, shaping elections, media, and public opinion. The clash over money had effectively created America's first political parties, embedding economic ideology into the nation's political DNA. The Hamilton-Jefferson conflict established a lasting American debate between centralized financial power and local economic independence. Although both men are long gone, the arguments they made continue to echo through American history, from the creation of the Federal Reserve to debates over government spending, banking regulation, and national debt. Hamilton's vision ultimately proved influential in building a powerful, integrated financial system capable of supporting industrial growth and global influence. At the same time, Jefferson's warnings about concentrated financial power have resurfaced repeatedly during moments of crisis, such as the Panic of 1837, the Great Depression, and even the 2008 financial crisis, when critics questioned whether large financial institutions held too much influence over the economy and government policy. This tension is not a problem that was solved, it is a balance that has to be constantly managed. On one side is the need for coordination, stability, and national strength. On the other is the fear that too much central control can erode freedom and fairness. The battle between Hamilton and Jefferson wasn't just an early disagreement, it set the stage for one of the most enduring conflicts in American economic life, one that still shapes decisions about money, power, and who ultimately controls them.